Hello, everyone. Well done to those of you who managed to get up from the floor down here very quickly from that last drama session. I see some faces. In some ways, this, I think, is one of the most important sessions at Edinburgh this year. We are living in an era in which everyone's trying to get into drama, even half-wits like me. And what's fantastic we're going to learn about today is that the high-end television levy is creating opportunities for people who want to produce, who want to direct, to really break through in drama. So, certainly something that wasn't available a few years ago. And we've got a rather brilliant panel here. We've got Andrew Chowns, who's going to talk in great detail actually about the scheme. But we also have a panel of Christiana Ibon-Green, who is a director who's come through the panel, and Ben Holt, who's Deputy Head of Production at Kudos, and Paul Gilbert. And they're going to talk firsthand about their experience and how we can do more. So without me wittering on for too much, I'm going to hand over to Andrew to do the introduction.
Just in case there's anybody who has absolutely no idea what this is about.
Do you think I've not done a very good job of this?
I'm just going to fill in a few gaps you left there, Wayne. But basically, this all started when the high-end TV tax credit was introduced, I guess about 4 years ago. And the tax credit has been a fantastic intervention in high-end TV production for the UK, without a shadow of doubt. But when it was introduced, the government and industry were both worried that an intervention on that scale, straight away injecting what's effectively several £100 million into the production economy, could result in a shortage of talent. Suddenly requiring that much more production to be made could lead to a situation where we were saying, well, where are the people we need to make these shows at the high level? And the worry was, if we were not careful, talent would end up having to be imported into the UK. So this would be not jobs going to British talent, but imported talent. Or even worse, companies would say, this is all too difficult, there isn't anybody, there's no studios, I'm not going to come to the UK after all. So absolutely in parallel with creating a tax credit, the idea was to create an intervention that would make sure we had talent at the right level. And that's why the high-end TV levy was created, to be matched initially by funding from the government, very generous funding, to create this pool of money that we could then spend on career development and training. So it's been a fantastic intervention. I said at the time that I thought it was our equivalent of the Olympics. It was a one-off, momentous opportunity suddenly to scale up our capability. But you can't sort of suddenly switch on a tap and it all starts happening. So the emphasis right from the word go was the three key professions: producers, writers and directors, craft, and baked into the whole thing was a requirement to ensure that we have a diverse workforce. At about the same time as the tax credit was coming in, we were all starting to get much more concerned about gender equality and much more concerned about diversity of the workforce. And Lenny Henry was coming forward with his ideas. We at Directors UK were doing a lot of research ourselves. So the way this scheme has evolved, an essential part of it has been creating a diverse workforce. So the two things are going very much hand in hand. And just to be clear, because people often think training means, entry level, people coming into the industry. This is not really about entry level. This is about making sure that people who are almost ready to take on Game of Thrones and Fortitude and Outlander are then able to take on those big shows. So it's not really about classroom training, and it's definitely not about shadowing. We don't use the S word at Directors UK anymore. The way we've been doing it on the director scheme, and Christiana will tell you more about it in detail in a second, is mentoring. So we partner up somebody with a director on one of these shows. They get to spend an extended period of time working with them on all the different aspects of a production and doing as much hands-on as is possible. So this is not looking at someone working, it's doing work yourself. And the objective is to get somebody to a point when they're ready to work on a high-end TV show, and as importantly, the company is ready to accept them and give them a job. So a lot of this is about the relationship between the director in our case, or the producer and the writer, and the production company, because we don't just want to launch people into the workforce and then just leave them floundering there without that connection. So we did an initial run last year and had 5 directors linked up with productions. Christiana was one of them. I see Warris and Baffa in the front row. They also were involved in 2 of the other productions. And we are going to do some more this year. In fact, we're going to do more of them. And one of the key learnings we had from last time, well, there were 2 really. One is that longer time spent on each production is better. You know, there's a certain amount that you can do within the time we had last time, but I think the feedback we got was more is better. So we are going to make these mentoring placements longer by duration, make sure people can go right through the production process from start to finish. And the second thing that's crucial is the level of support people have after they've completed the scheme. And this is not just applying to directors, this is everybody, because as I say, you don't want to just launch people out there. So we want to, this is part of why we want to, you know, make you all aware of it, because we want people to know about it, the availability of the funding. We want people to know about the candidates who've gone through the scheme, and we want to get their credentials out there. Directors, it's been very important for us at Directors UK to do it. We feel as the professional association, it kind of is our job, our responsibility to do it. We know who the directors are. We know who would be willing to do mentoring and to be mentored. But it doesn't happen just through us. The levy is vital. The role that Creative Skill Set plays in gathering us all together, coordinating us as an industry, and running the fund is absolutely vital. There's a lot of money here, and it's got to be deployed properly and well accounted for. And it's also vital to have good relationships with the production companies as well. You can't just plonk somebody on a production. You've got to make sure that the fit is right, people feel comfortable with one another. And last time round, we did have a number of companies who wanted to do it, but we just couldn't quite make that things fit. So next time round, we would love to work with them again. We'd love to work again with companies who've already done it once, and anyone else who's here and is interested in it. There is serious money available to. I mean, that's one of the biggest obstacles. You know, these programs are not cheap to do, and we don't want to do them on the cheap. The mentors get a fee. The people being mentored are paid, because we found that, you know, one of the problems with freelance training programs is if people are expected to do them and not get any money for it, they're giving up time to work their normal job. So these are properly constituted, well-funded schemes, and the outcome is that people will get a job, and they will have the confidence of the employers to do it. So for Directors UK, it's really important for us, and our commitment to it is not just to do one, we're going to keep on doing them.
Okay, well, I think you had them at serious money, by the way.
Serious money.
But I think it'd be great to hear from Christiana. Just tell us a little bit about your background and how you decided this was the right thing to help your career develop.
Well, I'm a graduate from the National Film and Television School, and I've done hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of continuing drama and short films and various other things, trying to develop screenplays, but just felt that there was some sort of ceiling, there was a block to get in further and getting onto the type of dramas that I felt that I was really capable of doing and wanted to do. So when I heard about this scheme through Directors UK, it was just fantastic. It was like, really? Get to be on this high-end production and possibly do some second unit? Because that was another thing. I've done some other shadowing schemes or whatever, and your job is to sit in the background and look keen and just sort of nod and pretend you don't know anything. Whereas this, and also because it was paid, it was about getting that experience. So I went to it readily.
And you should tell a little bit to the group about what you actually did.
So I was on The Tunnel, Kudos production last year, and was with a wonderful director, Carl Tibbets, and I shadowed through through some of the prep, some of the shoot, and some of the post, and just got to see the production at that scale, really, and just the resources and the time and everything that went into production of that size. So it was whether we were going sort of to France, to Recce, or, you know, and the quality of the script, the quality of the cast, the sort of the huge amount of crew that came on board just to make sure that it was the best that it could be. I was really surprised by that and impressed. And just also that the schedule could change depending on what the script needed. But I mean, there was also last year, there was lots of strikes at sort of Eurotunnel. And so the schedule had to accommodate that. Whereas on lots of things I'd done, you know, it was kind of like, just you know, get it done. And if you don't get it done, you might just lose the scene. There isn't that thing that the schedule works in your favour. So it was a fantastic experience to sort of see all this and to do some second units as
How did
well.
she do, Ben?
She was fantastic. No, but it was a very interesting series. We had our own challenges with the dockers who were burning tyres and the migrants who were jumping fences. And so the port of Dover closed down Dover when we were doing low loader work through the port of Dover the next day. So it had its own challenges, that show. So obviously Christiana saw that firsthand and how we have to literally all hands to the pump, change the schedule and but it worked out very well in the end. So the high-end TV co-producing scheme, which has been developed in conjunction with the drama industry as a whole, and it has been agreed with the broadcasters that as a minimum there will be an HETV co-producing credit on Humans. Paul is getting a producing credit, so it's very flexible, but as a minimum that will be that's been the agreed credit with all of the main broadcasters. There is a £40,000 pot per production available, which is a third match by the production budget, but it's capped at £40,000. So what that's doing, it's enabling the productions to add a layer of producing talent, either underneath the existing producer or the executive producers, which is in the case of Humans, and which is sort of anti or going against what Shane Smith was saying last night about taking the risk. This is taking the risk out, certainly from the production budget point of view, and allowing the exciting HAD talent that is there but isn't being given the opportunity. Andrew touched very well on the tax credit and how that's given. It's been such a great thing for the industry as a whole. But what it's meant is we've got a lot of high-end TV and there's the existing continuing drama and there's a big gap in the middle. So people's career progression used to be much more straightforward, and there was that middle gap of, we used to make shows like Law and Order, for example, and you could go from EastEnders, Law and Order onto the sort of the higher end, bigger budget shows, and that doesn't really exist anymore. There's much less of that TV being made. Everybody wants high end, excited, creatively ambitious shows. So schemes like this are vitally important, whether it's for the directing, the producing, to add that little layer. And what's great about this scheme is it's end-to-end. So Paul has been on from the very early days of prep, and he's going right through until delivery of the show. And he's been able to learn a lot from Chris Fry and Derek Wax, who are EPs, and sort of growing into the role. And I think the idea is that when Paul has finished with Humans, he is a producer of high-end drama TV, and he's out there in the big bad world. And we've added another producing piece of talent to the pot, as it were. So, it's been a fantastic thing for Kudos. I know that there's, on Delicious, there's Mo Williams, who is getting a co-producer credit for the first 2 episodes, and then the producer of those episodes is going to post, and Mo is going to produce the second 2 episodes. Okay. So that's how it's working on there. On Sherlock, there's another co-producer who's working, I think, solely as a co-producer throughout the next series of Sherlock. So that's, again, it's a very flexible scheme. It's to fit the show. It's not a prescriptive scheme. And Creative Skill Set have a pool of fantastic candidates who they ask the production to consider, along with other relevant talent that they think they would like to meet and interview and consider for the scheme.
So it is competitive. It's, you've got to
it is competitive for sure, yeah. It's allowing producers, existing producers, to open their mind up to new talent, because we're all quite safe, whether it's in casting, crew we've worked with, and so it's really enabling people to meet new people out there, and it's sort of taking away the glass ceilings that people were finding and sort of bringing them into the high-end TV sector. So it's been a very positive experience.
And so for you, Paul, perhaps you could just tell the group here about where were you before?
I was a script editor. I come from a script background. So I was a script editor and a development producer for many years. I was at the BBC, I was at Big Talk, and loved doing those jobs. But all the while, I had this sort of burning hunger to produce. I knew that it's something I wanted to do. I wanted to get my hands dirty. I wanted to be on the floor and actually sort of make the stuff that previously I'd just been sort of imagining and talking about in a very notional way. But those opportunities I found just weren't there for me, and for very understandable reasons. It's a big thing to give someone who's untried and tested sort of multi-million pound sort of budget show and expect them to come up with the goods and do a good job. And I was being told we're waiting for a single or a little two-parter to give you, and but it never quite sort of happened. So everyone's got a different story about how they, got into their jobs. But for me, I felt that I needed to kind of demonstrate that I could do the job. So I spent most of last year producing a short film, which, alongside my day job, which was very challenging and quite nightmarish, but I knew that it was a means to an end, and I wanted to kind of prove to people that I could do it, and also learn on the job, because I genuinely believe that you only sort of realise and show people that you can do the job by actually sort of doing it and learning on the job. So once I had the short film made, I was able to kind of go around to people and say, look what I can do, and I want to do the same on a television project. I was in conversation with Derek Wax and Diedrich Santa at Kudos, and the subject of humans came up, and it was just timing, as often these things are, that they were looking for a creative producer, sort of an editorial producer on the second series, and they wanted to actively train someone up. And they told me about the scheme, that it was kind of forming, it was being established, and it was just a sort of perfect alignment, really. And so I interviewed for it, and they offered it to me, and sort of the rest is history. I'm sort of still living and breathing it, where we've got another week and a half of production left, and it's been a long haul, 8 episodes, but I've had a brilliant time on it. It's been fantastic.
And do you feel now, you haven't quite finished yet, but you feel now I'm a proper drama producer?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I do. I've sort of been on the front line, and every day there's 100 different sort of problems and challenges that get thrown at you, and you just sort of learn to deal with it. Yeah. And as Ben said, I've been there right from the very beginning, from the very first sort of writers' room meeting where we started to kind of storyline, and I'll be there until sort of January when we deliver to Channel 4 and AMC. Right. I feel like I've been through it, and I've just learnt a huge amount. I probably don't even realise the amount of stuff that I've learnt, but I feel completely sort of equipped and enabled to go forward and take on something else.
That's a fantastic story. Now, we're running out of time, but I just want to come back to you, Christiana, and you again. What tips would you give to people, simple tips to do if they're thinking of applying for this?
Other than do it, I just say, embrace it, embrace the whole thing. I'm not going to pretend it's an easy job. It's not. It's a hard job. But if you know that it's something you're burning to do it, then do it and embrace it for all it's going to offer you, and learn to find the joy in solving problems. Because there is. It becomes quite fun after a while, and there's always a solution to a problem.
There's always a solution.
And I'd say it's a no-brainer if you want to get into high end, and this is a great taster so just apply and remain open, really, to all that's going to come at you, because you're going to see productions done in a different way than you expect.
Okay. Well, look, you should all have a brochure. The brochure's pretty clear about the schemes, etc. But if you want to learn more, we're hosting drinks at 2:15 at Platform 5. Is that right? The networking area, which someone's pointing. First floor. Sorry, I couldn't see at the back. First floor. So you can come and The guys are going to be there, I think, to talk more about it, and there'll be people from Skillset, etc., to learn more about what I think is a rather fantastic scheme. So thank you for coming. I apologise again for my incompetence, but I'd like you to show your appreciation of a really good panel. Thank you all very much.